Welcome to On-Demand Module 3, Teaching Success with Reach for Reading Grades 1 and 2. This session will provide you with an overview of the first and second grade resources and the instructional path for each unit. You may want to have a teacher's edition close by so you can follow along. First, let's do a quick review of Reach for Reading as a whole. Reach for Reading is a core reading program from kindergarten through 5th grade. There are 3 attributes that really make this program unique. First, you're going to be teaching students to read through compelling content that includes multicultural texts, authentic literature, and exclusive content from National Geographic. Not only are your students going to be excited and engaged, but you will be as well. Reach for Reading has also been developed to help you meet the needs of every learner in your classroom. From those who are above level to those who are below, the content has been developed to support all students in your room. And the program has been designed to be both structured and flexible in order to accommodate all teaching scenarios. The program authors are leading experts in the field, and as they developed the program, they had the Common Core State Standards in front of them, so you can rest assured you'll cover 100% of the Common Core State Standards when using Reach for Reading. You can learn more from the program authors about how the program was developed and what best practices are embedded in our Best Practices and Routines Based on Research section. These can be found in your Unit 1 Teacher's Edition and on the Professional Development website link on MyNG Connect. Speaking of the Teacher's Editions, you may have noticed that you have quite a few. Reach for Reading has developed a Teacher's Edition for every unit of instruction. In grades 1 and 2, that means you have 8 teacher's editions. In each teacher's edition, you'll find Common Core correlations in the back. You'll also find tab sections separating the leveled reading instruction, the practice masters, and the assessment and reteaching resources. Instead of having a bunch of different ancillary books, you have all of your resources right there for you in one book. And the entire Teacher's Edition and all resources are also available on MyNG Connect. Each unit follows the same instructional path. You will always begin with a unit launch before moving on to the instruction, which is broken down into 4 weeks. Each unit then ends with a unit wrap-up. Each week of instruction incorporates phonemic awareness and phonics as well as reading. Students will also work on a writing project found at the end of the unit. You'll also notice that within each unit there is always a National Geographic exclusive selection. These are selections that were written with and by our National Geographic explorers, scientists, and photographers helping bring the world into your classroom. Reach for Reading emphasizes major topics of science and social studies through the thematic units that incorporate academic and content vocabulary and subject-specific tasks that include suggestions for relating the themes to students' own experiences, cultures, and personal lives. Within each unit, lessons build upon prior lessons to reinforce and extend the information students are learning and the skills they are acquiring. If you're following along in your Teacher's Edition, you can find this in the front of the book. If you're in the Unit 1 Teacher's Edition, it's found right behind the Unit 1 tab. The instruction for Reach for Reading is set up in a workshop-based model, beginning with whole group instruction, before moving on to leveled reading time and learning station time. Turning to the next page, you'll find the program resources for the unit. These are specific to this particular unit. The resources are broken down into whole group, leveled reading, which includes a balance of informational text and authentic literature, and there are over 100 books per level in the leveled reading library. The learning stations are also part of this resource page, as well as your planning, assessment, and reteaching tools. On the next page, you'll find the Skills at a Glance page. This page identifies the selections that will be used for each week of instruction down the left column. Notice that the second selection for weeks 2 and 4 are interactive whiteboard lessons. Then the skills on this page are broken down for the unit by Common Core strand: speaking and listening, language vocabulary, reading, and writing. The next page is your weekly planner. Again, each day is divided into the workshop layout: whole group, small group, and learning stations. Foundational skill instruction is built right into each day of instruction. The Common Core standards are listed for each lesson in blue. All tested skills are identified with a red checkbox. And suggested times are listed for each lesson, but don't worry, the online lesson planner can be used to fit the program to your specific needs. On the next page, you'll find some learning station options that are specific to the unit theme. Notice that these include multiple options for each Common Core strand. Turning the page, you'll find the daily language arts lessons for spelling and word work. The spelling and word work lessons follow an instructional plan that includes introducing the words on day 1, providing multiple options for practicing the words on days 2, 3, and 4, and a spelling test on day 5. You'll notice that the practice options are often engaging activities that have the students actively using the words they're studying. Daily grammar instruction is also provided as part of the daily language arts lessons. The grammar lessons will build upon each other as students progress through the units. You'll see reminders like this at the bottom of the page for the spelling and word work and grammar lessons in the margins throughout the instruction. Now we'll take a quick walkthrough for the first 5 days of a unit. Each day begins with a morning warm-up to get students active and engaged in the upcoming content of the lesson. Following the morning warm-up on day 1, you'll begin by introducing the unit. With this lesson, you will build students' content knowledge by introducing the big question, having students share what they already know about that question or that content, and sharing the build background video. These videos are available to you on the MyNG Connect website. Then students will begin the unit project. These are great projects to have a full bulletin board in your classroom to keep adding to throughout the unit. You'll also notice in the right margin that there's a list of contents for weekly folders if you choose to send those home. Now it's time for the instruction in foundational skills, phonological awareness, and phonics. Step-by-step directions are provided for the phonological awareness instruction, including an opportunity to check understanding and reteach if necessary. The phonics part of the lesson begins with using the Sing With Me Phonics Songs Big Book. These songs and chants and finger plays will help introduce the phonics skill to the students. Next, you'll use the sound spelling cards and decoding routine 1 to teach the students the specific sound spelling for this lesson. Opportunities for differentiation are built right into your Teacher's Edition. You will see these differentiation opportunities throughout the lessons. Differentiation strategies are provided for English learners, students with special needs, students who are above level, and more. Next, you'll use the word builder and the Read on Your Own Decodable book to practice reading and spelling words with the sound spelling you're focusing on. Before moving on to introducing the high-frequency words that are also found in the Read on Your Own Decodable book. Once you've completed the foundational skills instruction, it's time to move on to listen and comprehend. You'll begin this part of the lesson by engaging students in academic talk using a page from the student anthology. Next, it's time to introduce the content vocabulary. You'll notice that every time content vocabulary is introduced, it's introduced within the context of the unit theme. You'll also be using a consistent routine to introduce the key vocabulary. This routine consists of pronouncing and having the students pronounce the word, rating the word, defining the word, elaborating on the definition, and posting the word on the word wall. This is one of many routines that are built into the program, and although the directions are built right into the Teacher's Edition at point of use, you'll also find detailed information about the routines in the Best Practices section I mentioned, found in Unit 1 or online. Opportunities to check and reteach are built right in so you can continue to monitor student progress. After introducing the content vocabulary, it's time to introduce or review a comprehension skill using another page from the student anthology. Now it's time to share a story using one of the two big books for the unit. You will be reading this big book aloud twice, a Common Core requirement. On day 1, students will listen and comprehend, and on day 2, students will listen and analyze. As you page through the Teacher's Edition, you'll see specific instruction for each day as you read aloud. Fluency checks are often built in as well to help students understand fluency concepts. At the end of day 1 and every day, students will then have the opportunity to write about what they've learned so far. As with the morning warm-up, each day ends with a wrap-up, giving students an opportunity to share with each other what they've learned. Moving into day 2, students are going to again begin with foundational skills of phonological awareness, phonics, and high-frequency word instruction and practice. Next, it's time to read and comprehend decodable informational text. In the past, the focus was all about learning to read and not reading to learn. With our decodable readers, students are continuing to learn to read, and at the same time, they're also reading to learn information based on the unit's theme. These decodable readers are high interest and nonfiction selections. Notice again that we are doing 2 readings of the decodable reading. We're going to decode and self-correct, and then reread and comprehend. This decodable reading and these two reads take place on the same day. After both readings of the decodable text, it's time to use the big book for some more academic talk. We then move back into the student anthology to introduce the academic vocabulary words using the same vocabulary routine used on day 1. With the academic words, you'll see that we introduce the words through photographs and student-friendly definitions to help the students easily comprehend the meaning of the word. Now it's time for the second reading of the big book and to introduce and teach the reading strategy. We then build comprehension and use the day 2 listen and analyze prompts as we reread the big book. Once again, writing and wrap-up occur at the end of the day. Fortunately, the foundational skill instruction on day 3 follows the same path as day 1. You will then practice the vocabulary words, both the content and the academic, before moving on to more academic talk. Then it's time for a shared reading with the selection in the anthology. You'll notice that since this is a shared reading, the Teacher's Edition says read pages 207 to 230 to the students, using the questions to guide discussion. This anthology is meant to be accessible for all students. It might be too hard for some and too easy for others. The shared reading is meant to provide students with an equal opportunity to learn and practice the skills and strategies before applying them to texts at their instructional reading levels through the leveled library. Again, you'll provide multiple readings on day 3 and day 4. And of course, the instruction for the day ends with writing and the daily wrap-up. On day 4, the foundational skills instruction follows the same routine as day 2. Then it's time to continue practicing the vocabulary and academic talk skills. Finally, you'll have the second reading of the selection, and as you can see, differentiation options are provided when necessary. You'll also find various mini-lessons built in throughout the program that can be implemented as needed. Again, the day ends with writing and the wrap-up. Day 5 is an opportunity to review and apply the skills that have been taught in days 1 through 4. Students will have a chance to review vocabulary and phonics using the Read on Your Own books. They'll also review academic talk and writing. Students will then reread a selection of text and integrate their knowledge of the comprehension skill. At the end of day 5, you'll see an overview of the assessments and reteaching options specifically for week 1's instruction. Turning to the Practice Masters tab, on the back of that tab, you'll see which Practice Masters apply to each lesson and which page they're found on. These Practice Masters are also available online. Now let's turn to the Leveled Reading tab and take a look at the leveled reading for the unit. For each unit, you will have a range of leveled readers for students to apply the skills and strategies they learned through the anthology. In this example, Unit 4 for first grade, you can see that you have books that go from Guided Reading Level A to Level K. That means that about 3 months into first grade, you'll have titles for students who are below level, on level, and above level. Take a look at the suggested pacing by week across the top of the page. As you can see, it's suggested that students will read 2 books per week of instruction. The next 2 pages provide specific details for the 4 reading routines you'll be using during leveled reading time. This includes additional leveled reading masters, which are found in this section of the book. The pages that follow provide teaching resources for all of the leveled readers. For each reader, you have an overview of the book, including title, author, page count, genre, and content connection. You have a summary of the text, opportunities for activating prior knowledge, a preview, build comprehension checks, and writing options. At the end of this section, we've also provided a list of additional recommended books, both fiction and non, that connect directly to the content of the unit and cover the same levels. This is a great list to share with the media specialist or librarian for additional classroom library books. You could even pass them from class to class so everyone gets a chance to use them throughout the instruction. Turning to the Assessment and Reteaching tab, you'll find all of the assessment tools needed to monitor student progress for the unit. To learn more about the resources available on MyNG Connect, please be sure to view Module 1A for an overview. Thank you for attending this session. Please be sure to download the certificate of completion under the attachments link.